team. So day 2 is the time to pull out the big boy strats.
Brutally honest.
Eliminate as many NA teams as you can in the process.
Brutally honest, I taught him well.
I'm learning.
We are in the draft of Game 1. Volskaya Foundry with Team 12 having first pick, first ban. They'll ban away the Blaze.
Blaze is gone. Zealots thinking about their ban. Get rid of my F, please. Everyone in EU just start banning it, period, unless you get the first pick. Thank you. I'm happy. Zealots have learned. And now we can go into the drafts.
The one thing that I personally want to see when it comes to draft involvement, it doesn't surprise that Malfurion is highly prioritized, and there's good reason for that to happen. But what I really want to see is what role Genji is going to play. Because we saw a trend in Europe throughout the entire season where Genji was all of a sudden not banned out anymore, but picked. But he had a really bad win rate. And that just continues here at the Western Clash. Genji is currently sitting at a pretty disappointing 1-5. He has only a single victory. It's one of those heroes that just has a high skill ceiling, but he's also very vulnerable. And I feel that's true to a lot of the heroes that haven't performed well. We talked about Tyrael having huge problems.
Yes.
And if you compare him to other tanks, you have to be just spot on with the play. Think about the one mistake that Reese made when he sanked it on the right side. If that sank it on the other side, it's a win. So one tiny mistake can punish you. And in this case, we're having a mobile hero, but it's not Genji. We're seeing the Tracer combo with Tyrael.
I think that is almost a Team 12 picked up Malfurion. I think they were actually going to anticipate getting the Tracer themselves, potentially giving up the Abathur over to the side of Zealots. Now, this brings up a little bit different dynamic. Having Tracer, she has a lot of room to work on Volskaya. The map is open in a lot of areas. Generally, we would see some other Battleground to say when the map starts to open up, she can run people down. There's just no getting away from a Tracer. Here, you have so much room to work, and I think that definitely plays into favor on this Battleground. Even without the Malfurion, I'm curious if the way that we've seen them picking Stukov this tournament for Zealots, I imagine Stukov might kind of fit into that role, kind of come back, get a little bit of a spread, and then go back out.
Certainly impossible. Shad seems to be enjoying that Stukov, but I'm looking at Team 12 here. It seems like on this Battleground, poke and chase potential are becoming high priorities. Do you think we can get that Junkrat once again from Team 12 that we saw earlier?
I could definitely see Junkrat being played again, and Phil's team's enjoying really a lot on this map as well. I would expect him a bit later though. But we have Sonya, and I'm excited for that. This is something that usually the Zealots bring to the table, especially around Zomni.
Yeah.
We haven't seen Sonya in this tournament yet.
Yeah, we haven't. We've even seen her fall a little bit. In week 4, I think we had her for a couple of games, but even then haven't really had a huge priority since week 2 in Europe. But North America will be the one to debut the Sonya at the Western Clash. Pretty excited for that, J-Hal.
Interestingly enough, Goku, who's played a wide variety of heroes, 14 different heroes coming into the Clash, 4 of those were on Sonya. So that is it's actually tied for his most played hero. Seeing it here, I think maybe a little bit surprising, but you have that Uther up there, you have the double support. So it's a lot of frontline control, a lot of stun control. But they're definitely going to need a lot more sustain and damage, and you can see the Cassia being banned out, which fits that role.
There is something to consider that Sonya does have that Poison Spear at level 7, which is helpful against a Tracer. Any type of focus attack. It used to be back in the day, Sergeant Hammer would get picked up because the level 4 focus attack would be enough to chunk her and make her go away. It's very similar here with the Sonya.
I mean, Tracer has done really well in the tournament, so it makes a lot of sense to try and target her specifically in the draft. 8 wins and only 4 losses make her one of the best assassins that we have here. The one question for me is if Abathur is still going to play a role here, and that could be in the ban on the side of Team 12. But as you said before, Tim, Zealots have played a lot of Abathur, and ADRD loves to go down that path. And Volskaya can give you a lot of value. And if you have the hat for Tracer in particular, gives you survivability and also a lot more chase potential than she alone already has.
I think the thing that's scary for me is if you're on that Tracer, the Poison Spear, if you can land the stun with the Uther, get the Poison Spear in, you need, and the Abathur is not even going to make it through, but you need somebody like the finisher. Greymane, and this is particularly interesting for me for Team 12 is, Cure's normally the auto-attack style, carry on the backside, while Dansky is more of the mage style. So I'm really curious who's going to be here, because I feel like Cure would be the Uther player in this situation, but they need somebody that if you're going to get the stun, get that lockdown, you need a finisher, maybe that Greymane that comes in, which generally is Cure's hero.
You're curious.
Curious.
Who will be playing that Uther?
Hey.
That pun is so bad it could have been for me.
Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment.
Oh, it definitely is.
Okay, well, third and fourth pick coming in for Zealots. Will we have them double down on the protection? Will they move into a healer? And then, of course, maybe grab the Tassadar later on? Might be a little bit too much, but this is a Battleground where Tassadar and his Sidestorm build can be built up to that level 16 and help out with the poke.
And it's just another ADRD hero, as we already said before. But he has a lot of heroes that he can play here. And there's the Tassadar.
There it is.
So good call. And also we talked about Chad Stukov. So they go into the double support setup to just counteract that sustain that we have for Team 12 on their draft with the Malfurion and Uther setup.
I really wonder, so, you know, you can get one good spread with Stukov, which gives you a lot of good healing, especially around the control points. Lunara has kind of been a backup hero for this team, and you have their protection against a Pulse Bomb with the Uther and the Malfurion back there. They definitely need sustain in this case to get on the control points, because those are long, drawn-out fights. Greymane, again, fits a lot of follow-up style, but I'm not sure how I'd feel right now about a Greymane diving into this style of composition. It's going to be hard to get onto that. Tracer somewhere else, Tyrael has Sanctification, Tassadar can dip out, Stukov can silence and or slap you away post 10, so...
I guess would be safe here, and if I was looking at you, I'd be like, oh, Murden, great with Sonya, helpful with Uther, beating along on that back line, but North America, as we discussed earlier, doesn't play as much Murden. So I'm actually kind of curious, too, what the main tank is going to be for Team 12.
Yeah, definitely, and Stitches is coming in, so Greymane. All right, so you have, that's actually really terrifying if that hook connects. You have the roots as a follow-up, and you have the lockdown through the stun on Uther's side.
Yeah.
And then Sonya and Greymane can blow the target to pieces within seconds, especially if you go bullet. So that is scary.
Anybody who wants it can get it. That's the style that Team 12 is going to play. And so for the side of Zealots, we generally will have Zarmany and Mopsio on that front line. So where do they kind of find that extra control on that front line to where it's safe? Do we go down the Anubarak route to where it's like, look, if Stitches gets the Gorge, can you try and stop them? Do you need that counter engage?
I'm expecting a Dahak here if it's Zarmany. I mean, that still hasn't been picked up throughout the entire draft. You need somebody that can handle those other two lanes. Because with Tracer, Tyrael, Tassadar, and Stukov, probably gonna group up pretty well. You can peel off the task, but Malthael is another option. We haven't seen that from a long time for Zarmany. And if we wanted, personally, I'm still on the Thrall train for this Battleground. If we really wanted someone else to soak as well.
What about Arthas?
Arthas works as well, too. But we get Leo. Leo is making it back. He fell off pretty hard in the actual HGC season, but here at the tournament, becoming a mainstay.
I think the best part about that pick is that they get the wave clear that they need, and they also have somebody, and you know, Nubarak kind of sprung to mind at first, but you got to find somebody that's like, how do you get away if you get hooked, right? If you're unstoppable, that's a lot easier. So Leo, if he does get hit, can use the Wraith Walk to walk out of there. So it's one of those things that if the hook does land, I imagine we'll see Gorge try and get out of there, but you also have Leoric that if you do have somebody get gorged, you can throw down the Entomb. It's on a short enough cooldown. So Leoric, I think, fits a lot to counter that style. Not even, you know, we still got to remember he can drain life from Stitches, who has the highest health pool. When we're talking about percentage-based damage, he fits kind of a lot of checkpoints for them.
So you think they're going Gorge here 100%?
Gorge?
Yeah.
It feels, yeah.
But okay, because I'm really looking at it from a European perspective. Normally when we have Gorge, you are trying to create space through a false stat gust, or you try to get anything else in there with a midi, for example, allowing you to create distance. We very rarely see that Gorge when you have nothing that helps you to create that distance. And the one thing that I would be a little bit afraid of is that Stukov gets into range to simply drop the silence when you're attempting to burn the target down.
Right.
So I couldn't even see going into Putrid Bile, just because eventually you might be forced. Let's say that hook doesn't connect, you will be forced to move onto the point to force the fight, and then with Bile you would have probably more of a fighting chance. So I could see that go both ways.
Let's get into it. Jay-How, we'll start at your end of the desk for some predictions.
Team 12, I like their draft. I like it feels like they got a lot of what they wanted. I also feel that they're the superior team in this matchup. So for a lot of reasons, I'm going to go with Team 12.
Trick?
Caldor, look over there, because I am going with North America here. I think Team 12 has a better composition for this Battleground.
I'm done with this.
And Caldor's not going to take a prediction, and so with that, I think...
Hey!
we just go ahead and put you on that. All right, we know what Caldor's prediction is going to be. Did you want to change that, or you...
No, but can I explain why?
Yeah.
Okay, so in the first game, I usually find myself, because we don't know the power levels between the two of them.
Yeah.
So in the first game, I usually believe just in what I know.
Okay.
And I know Zealots way better than I know Team 12. I think Team 12 has a fantastic draft, but they rely on the hook. And if the hook doesn't connect, I think the Zealots are going to be in a good spot. So that's the reason why, at least for the first game, I think Zealots can play around it, and then we'll take it from the second one.
Same thing, flip it, but reverse it. I'm going Team 12. But what about you guys at home? I told you to vote. I hope you did. I hope you voted for the team that you want to win or you think is going to win. This chat is so EU biased.
They believe in Caldor stats.
Trixler is not even that EU biased. Dreadnought and Vandy, take it away for game 1.
Thank you very much, Gillyweed, and we are ready here, Zealots and Team 12. Vandy, I've already got to ask here, you know, do you have any immediate thoughts on this game? Like, do you feel like one team's got it over the other?
Honestly, I mean, looking at the drafts, I am really liking that Zealots draft, and I was having a good chuckle at the fact that Caldor just had his selected for him. I thought that was awesome. It's just showing, I guess, as well, even in chat, people are really getting behind it.
They very much are, but people are also getting behind Team 12 here, where we're going to have Malfurion, played by Buds, Cure on Uther, Goku playing Sonya, Justing on that Stitches, and Greymane, played by Dansky.
And on the red side, we have Team Zealots with Mopstio playing Tyrael, Zarmany on Leoric, Shad on Stukov, ADRD on Tacita, and Chris playing Tracer. Dread, I tell you what, you can hear the crowd getting behind all the European teams today.
Yeah, you know, it's not just the crowd here, it was that Twitch chat, and it's shown throughout a lot of the votes here. But you know, North America, they put up a stand here at this tournament, and I'm expecting Team 12 to be able to do that against Zealots. Zealots has been, you know, a very unique playstyle team throughout not only their region, but through this tournament, and that lack of pressure in some of the games we saw from them yesterday, you know, I have quite a bit of hope. Normally, I would have been like, I think Team 12 has got this, but yesterday's games out of Zealots, I found very, very impressive.
I mean, in an interview done with Zealots, they were saying when Zealots perform, they perform really well. When they don't, however, it's a little bit, I guess, underwhelming, right? To say the least.
It's one of those situations where it's kind of the, you know, high risk, high reward player type deal. Yes, whenever you are successful, you suddenly look kind of maybe that god among men, and I feel like this is a little bit out of proportion for Zealots. They very much are a game that can kind of teeter-totter in one direction or another. But for now, teams are going to be playing it slow here, and understandably so. Team 12, a very unique draft here with that double support, a lot of emphasis onto the Stitches with the hook. Even, you know, heard the skepticism coming out from some of the panel members like Caldor, and, you know, to be honest, I always agree. I'm always a player who struggles to support Stitches. Hold up, though. Stitches might need some support. Invade coming in here from Zealots onto the camp. Goku falling low, and that's first blood already. Tracer getting the damage there, and now Team 12 trying to fight back, but unable to do so. Mopstio gets himself a turret.
Goku was like a drive-by fidget spinner, but then Zealots were like, why are you coming at us from behind here? We're just gonna tap you with the pulse bomb, take you out for free.
A drive-by fidget spinner. Vandy, how did you come up with that one?
Honestly, I have to give props to Skimmy for coming up with that one.
A shout out to Skimmy there. But so we see the response after the immediate invade here. Zealots now cycle back out, get the pressure forward. There's themselves here. A lot of this is gonna come down to the very first spawn here of the objective. You know, that we've heard a lot of teams talking about the Protector, how, you know, impactful it is. Mike Udall has constantly talked about how it's suddenly, since the changes, going to be able to provide threat as much of a fort. And that makes me feel like, you know, Zealots here with the Tracer, the early game kill potential, and again, the slow 16-second hook that Team 12 seems to be banking on. I feel like Zealots might be able to eke ahead here over the first objective.
Chris is going to be feeling pretty good. Zealots have shown as well the prioritization on that Tracer time and time again, either choosing to first pick it or second pick it in their draft. And I mean, Chris, he's so happy. He's got double support backing him as well. You must feel so, like, I guess, safe as that Tracer to be able to get in there and deal out a lot of that damage without having to keep constantly nipping back using your blinks for that health.
See both teams very concerned over making sure they get as much split pressure as possible. Both perfectly timing that top camp. Tracer going to move on to Goku, though. Pulse bomb dropped, and it looks like Goku quick to follow. Yes, it will be the case. Another kill here for Zealots, and it could not be timed better here, Vandy. The fact that that is right around the objective, it is very likely that they should be able to push off Justin and friends, get a couple of free shots, or instead, ignore the map objective and pressure up towards top, get that experience, and suddenly snowball over that of Team 12. This is very good start here for the composition that Zealots has drafted. Super
strong by Zealots right there, and I mean, I guess looking at the talents that Goku has picked as well, he has opted for the War Paint, sacrificing block. But, I mean, is that Zealots trying to take advantage of it, or is also just him overextending a little bit as well? He just needs to be anticipating these quick, sharp rotations coming out from Zealots.
Yeah, it's. I feel like that's an adjustment because of the solo lane matchup that we expect Goku to be onto the side, and why maybe he lacks in that survivability, because it does complement whenever you're trading into like a Leoric, for instance, in long duration of time. But yes, it's really crippling the survivability. Look at the flank there from Chris and Mopsio immediately getting the follow-up. Body blocks are going to be there. Bit of split focus, though, as Chris drops the pulse bomb onto Buds, while the body block on a different target doesn't cost them much, but with Justin missing that hook, not much to be done for another 15.
Chris is just charging up these pulse bombs like it's nobody's business, really utilizing pulse strike whenever he can. And I mean, that's also very scary to know that he's had it pretty much every time they wanted to engage. It's just something that I guess Team 12 need to be ready for. Justin, he goes fishing, but he's not going to come back with any fish.
Sonya is going to make the rotation down. Goku looking to get some damage out now that he did not move actually into the Poison Spear opportunity whatsoever. So we're going to actually see him go with Ferocious Healing. He's going to be very, very beefy there. Goku, though, he's not beefy enough to be able to heal through that damage. Another kill here onto Goku, and Zealots backing it up here with the Protector. This is looking grim for Team 12, as this is almost a hookless game coming out from Justin, and that is the core of their composition.
This is quickly snowballing out of control, and I'm really, really worried. Goku, every time he tries to get in, we see the survivability, it's just not there. They are also rocking that double support composition as well, but it feels like Sonya's made out of paper as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, right now it is very much going to be damage control for Team 12 because of that Sonya in the side. And normally I would say, you know, it's not going to be that bad in this type of circumstances, but what I want to caution in this type of comp that we see developed by Team 12 is that they picked a double support, which generally speaking is not going to have that good of macro pressure onto the map. If you fall behind structurally, you're very dependent on getting a fight. And normally you'd be like, that's totally fine. But against, oh my gosh, the Protector just getting it picked onto Greymane solo. This is, I mean, Team 12, they're falling apart. Honestly, they're nice pull there onto Buds, getting the poke out here. But at this point with a 2-level lead, Vandy, Zealots, they're not afraid of anything.
Team 12 are in a world of hurt right now, losing that top fort. And what Caldo was saying even last game, this positions them so nicely for that next control point spawn, because we know it's going to be B in that top lane. So what they've already done is create space and take away any sustain that well would have provided, as well as a retreat option on the side of Team 12.
How much is Zealots going to get with this window of opportunity before that objective spawns is really what I'm focusing on here. They're going to start with an Entomb. The target, once again, is going to be Goku. He does end up getting the pull there, trying to get out, and it keeps him alive for a temporary period of time. Malfurion is clearing up towards that top lane, and that's a little bit of what I was talking about with that double support, the macro, and how difficult that's going to be. Initiations with Stitches is a very difficult thing because that hook is such a very long cooldown. So if you fall behind structurally, what I'm trying to say is it's even harder with the composition that Team 12 has drafted, both for the macro and for the initiations. It's going to hit a point where if this continues at the same trend that the first 5 minutes did, Team 12 is going to hit a huge moment of desperation where they just absolutely need to all in.
Yeah, and that's something I'm a little bit worried about, because it's already getting punished by them. Even these small skirmishes not feeling so great. Trying to engage here, don't yet have that all-important level 10 talent. Pretty much about to acquire it, just need the tiniest bit more experience. But Zealots, meanwhile, they're already starting to set their sights on that level 13 talent.
The level 13 talent here is, it's going to be spawning as the objective is up, and there's not a window where Team 12 is going to be able to make up for it. We talked about this a little bit in the series that you and I got to cast yesterday, about that, generally speaking, is the more profitable talent here to try and force a fight into if you can at all. But we see Team 12, they're getting desperate. They try and start the objective and force a response. Sanctification is going to be used. A lot of damage there. All the members of Team 12 are clumping up into the choke. The Entomb is there. Zarmany's going to go ahead and get pulled right in. We see Tassadar use the Archon here, but it's a 1-for-1 trade. It's Justin trying to get the retreat, the damage coming in, Cure with the heals, but it is not enough. Another kill, and look at Zealots, they're not done. Mopsio following up, and now we see 3-for-1. How? It's Zealots. They just turn things so very quickly with these initiations.
They really do. I mean, it was almost that 1-for-1. We saw a really nice Twilight Dream coming on out, but there was just not enough follow-up damage. And that is, I guess, a bit of that trap that you can fall into with the double support. You need to have these short, sharp executions, similar to what Zealots have, as I said, with the Tracer, with that Pulse Bomb. Here it comes out again, onto Cure this time.
They're just relentless. They never let up. Anytime that we see any member, it seems like of Team 12 show out on the map. And I was going to say past the halfway mark, but they're not even done with that. At this point, they're just drawing that line farther and farther onto the side of Team 12. A hook comes in, but it's going to land on the ADRD, one of those more difficult targets when you're playing Stitches. If you do manage to hit it, Dimensional Shift is typically going to be up at all points in time. ADRD, great job wearing the hook there for the team, and it's something that we can expect to see consistently. There are so few hook targets on Zealot's composition that, again, it just seems more grim and more grim. We do see the Bile was the selection, though, so it's not as dependent as that kind of all-in comp that we, heard the analysts talking about which option was going to be. It is safer, but at this point, 3 levels, 2.5, if you will, it is a little bit too much here for Team 12, and I feel like they've got to find a way to get that one more force.
Yeah. I love the way you were just saying with that. I mean, I was also just thinking about ADRD as well. Yesterday, we have just actually quickly called a pause, perhaps due to some player difficulties, but I was just saying yesterday with the players as well. ADRD, he was playing this Tassadar versus Team Freedom Stitches, and the same thing kept going. Every time he was hooked, just to mentally shift away, and that's just, I guess, it feels bad as Stitches, right? Because you're going out, you want that blow-up potential, but if you get that Tassadar, you're like, this is a wasted hook, wasted cooldown.
It very much is, because it's not only one of the more difficult cooldowns to be able to hit, but then when you do manage to get it, and the duration of time that we were talking about, it's just, you need to gain value out of that. And yeah, there's, again, because the Tassadar wearing that there, Tyrael, Leo, all of these are very, very difficult. Here's a hook onto Chris. Might be enough here. Damage, Pulse Bomb's going to be used. Justin falling low, but not going to drop yet. Zarmany pursuing there with that Spectral Wraith. The nice Entomb is going to force Cure to be stuck still, but no Divine Shield forced here. I actually really appreciate the fact that Entomb was used, but not over-committing to that fight on the side of Zealots here, because by no means that they need to, panic or overextend there. And in that type of choke, Divine Shield come out and maybe, turning around that corner, because Zealots is still not at that 16 talent tier. And again, Team 12 will get that most optimal fight remaining in this game if it continues it this way.
I mean, I agree with your point completely. I really like as well that Cure, he was just holding on, not being baited into having to use that Divine Shield, not feeling threatened enough. Another Protector now on the side of Team Zealots. And this is going to start looking very scary with 16 looming right now as Team 12 pick up level 13. This is so advantageous for Zealots. That 16 talent, it's just, as you were saying, I mean, one of the most, I guess, influential talents you can get in the game.
In my opinion, it is the second most powerful talent here, right behind, I guess it's going to be third, right behind 10s. Obviously, having Heroics, that is the biggest fight.
If you're not counting 10, though, because that goes without saying, right?
It's got to be, the 20 and the 16. That is where a lot of teams get that huge offensive pressure. 16's here, Team 12 getting a lot of damage onto the Punisher. There is a huge flank, though, from Zarmany up above. ADRD looking to drop in. Goku is going to use the Wrath of the Berserker here. Chris poking around, drops the Pulse Bomb. Justin falls low, gets the Divine Shield.
That's a great Divine Shield, but no, look at this, the Entomb! Ice Block needing to be called out, Buzz, he's still low, and he does fall!
That Twilight Dream was used, but so great use of cooldowns there, and able to dodge it out. Another kill here for Zealots, and now they're going to be looking towards this keep, going ahead, throwing down some of the weapons they've achieved through all the map pressure they've had. Shad is going to go ahead and even use the massive shove, pushing Cure away. And nice hook for Stitches, but it's on his Zarmany. This is like, look at how often, every time Team 12 even manages to get a hook, you're just like, oh, but that's not the hook target, right? It is so consistently that this seems to happen. And at this point, I mean, stats, experience, and so many other things are so far behind that even if they get the proper hook, I'm not sure that Team 12 can get the explosion that they need and get the one shot that they're aiming for. But I guess I'm continuing to try and look for when is going to be the breaking moment here that Zealots lets up and lets Team 12 catch up in experience, and they're not. 10-1 in kills.
Well, I like that Justin as well was adapting. I mean, the analysis desk was debating a lot about what heroic talent he would opt for, whether it be Gorge or Putrid Bile. He opted for the Putrid Bile because looking at Zealot's comp, who is that one good hook target? Really, it's just Shad that they can blow up quickly enough with that stun coming out. I mean, yeah, you do have Chris, but we've seen anytime that he does get stuns, he's able to blink away before there's enough damage going out to 100 to 0 him.
This is an interesting position that we see Zealots kind of be in here. With that, I mean, the major lead that they have, it seems like they're taking a bit of a slower approach than generally I would expect for how offensive they were through using their 16 talent tier before, right? Team 12 is still yet to be anywhere near the 16 talent tier, so I expected generally pressure up into mid, pressure up towards top, and I do expect them to still get it, but the fact that they were willing to kind of back out and focus more onto mercenaries here, to me shows that they're more considering those later team fights more about how do we get the 20 spike, get the objective, and that's where we're looking at.
A look at the map, though. I'm just having a look at the structures as well. That early keep, you can see the catapults and the minion wave gathering in that bottom lane. And look exactly where Zealots is positioned as well. Seeing if anyone's going to overcommit, try and rotate on out. The positioning that they've always got is so aggressive, always playing on Team 12's side of the map because they want to use the lead that they've created.
I mean, That was Tyrael just dropping the dance, dropping the spray. I appreciate Mopsio putting on the show here, but I'm going to say I'm still a little bit critical of the lack of pressure with the 16 talent tier here. It is adding up when you see the pressure on bottom. Zealots were looking to try and get a force and get a flank, but it is very realistic that they could have gotten free damage elsewhere on the map. They will be able to realistically get that 20, but it's not going to be around this 16 and the 19 fight onto the objective, right? This is what Team 12 has been begging to get a moment into this game, and I can't help but feel like Zealots kind of put it on a silver platter.
Yeah. They really did. I feel like Zealots as well, they really could have turned up the heat a little bit more. Yes, they were waiting in the flanks, but I mean, realistically, you wouldn't see Team 12 showing until they knew where you were on the map.
Yeah.
They know better than that, right? And then also, with this control point now coming out, yes, this Protector has a clear path to the core, but in saying that, you still need to respect that Team 12, they have that 16 talent. You do not yet have that level 20 talent.
And we can see, you know, maybe some of the justification for the slower play out of Zealots now. As that camp perfectly timed with the map objective on top, we even have Tyrael looking for the soak through mid. And it is going to be something that may demand the respect out of Team 12, but they understand that if they back out and they worry about the 20, they're going to have a bad time. Goku eats a pulse bomb, but he keeps himself alive. 32% and counting and looking towards that objective. 20 has now been secured for Zealots. And look at that flank up above. Zarmany showed the transition, though, through the middle lane, so Team 12 knows this, but I don't know if they can get out.
They really, really can't. I mean, you can see Mopsio, he's getting into the thick of it, but Zarmany now, you can tell he's looking for the Entomb.
Twilight Dream was used before the Entomb actually could be dropped. If they get the kill, no, they're not going to. There's the Entomb with the upgrade. Silence onto so many of Team 12, and Zarmany and friends just clean house. 4 of Team 12 end up going down, and they do not wait a minute here, Vandy. They immediately dart towards the core.
The crowd is loving this, and you can see Zealots are not even going to bother about the objective. They see their clear path to the core. There's just not enough stopping power. Justin, he's going to be the only member left. This is going to be Zealots really taking this game in a very convincing fashion.
Yeah, no way to be able to stop that. Infinite Archon alone could be able to solo this core with that many members of Team 12 dead. And 14 to 1 in those kills, there was just not a single moment, it felt like, with this composition. So much pressure onto Goku. 3 kills in the early game, getting that level lead. And then other than that small moment, which Zealots perfectly, you know, adjusted in the later stages, I was questioning, would they be able to get that? And they very much perfectly made a transition in that rotation with the Tyrael, with the Leo, and they just made Team 12 look silly.
Zealots just showing that they love this map, and they love it for a reason. That early game